Hi guys, so our first topic we're going to cover is surds. We'll be looking at them over several lessons and we're going to start with the basics. So our learning objective for today is I will be able to simplify, multiply and divide surds. So our key points on this topic are that surds are expressions with irrational square roots in them. So the word irrational means a number that does not terminate. Okay. If a question involving surds asks for an exact answer, you have to leave the surds in. That will make a little bit more sense as we work through. Okay, now to help us with surds, it's really important that you know your squares and square roots. So I've written some quick questions down for you here. If you just have a quick go at them, press pause, have a go, and then we'll just have a quick look at the answers. Okay, so we have 13, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, you might have seen a pattern here, but having these here will make it easier when you're working through the questions whilst you're getting used to the numbers. Okay, so we're going to start today with simplifying surds, and I've got two worked examples for you. Okay, so the first one we're going to do here is simplifying root 12. So the way we do this is we think of two factors of 12 and one of them needs to be a square number. So you might want to look back at your lists here. It might spring to your mind, it might not. Some come to your mind easier than others, some you have to think a little bit harder for. Now, I've picked up here 12 and I'm thinking I'm going to do 4 as my square number times 3. Now I always write my square number first. So I've got, it's all still going to be under the root. So my square number was 4 and I times 4 by 3 to get 12. Okay, and then we simplify it further. So if this is all under one square root sign, we could write it under two separate ones. So it'd be the same as root 4 times root 3. And then square root of 4 is 2. So we can write it as 2 root 3. So to simplify root 12, we write it as 2 root 3. Now be very clear, this is a big 2. It's not like a little square root sign, or they're not small, they are whole numbers. It means 2 lots of root 3. Okay, so take that one in, and we've got another example here. So I need to think of two factors. One of them needs to be a square number. If you're not sure, look through your list. What have you got here? How can you make 32? So I'm thinking I'm going to use 16 and 2. So there's my root sign. I write my square number first. Okay, and then I write it as two separate square roots times by each other. And then the square root of 16 is 4 and root 2 stays the same. So root 32 can be simplified as 4 root 2. Okay, so there's our worked examples. I'm going to quickly write down a how-to there so you don't forget. So the first thing you need to do is think of two factors of the number. One of them needs to be a square number. Okay, step 2, write 2 roots, write as 2 roots multiplied together. And then simplify. simplify. Okay, so take down the notes, press pause, take down the notes. And now it's your turn. Okay, so two numbers that times together to make 44. One of them needs to be a square number. So I've got 4 and 11. Right, there's two roots multiplied together, so root 4 times root 11, and then simplify. So the square root of 4 is 2, so 2 root 11. And on to the second one, I need two numbers that times together to make 63. One of them needs to be a square number. So I'm thinking 9 and 7. Write them as two roots multiplied together, so root 9 times root 7, and then simplify. So the square root of 9 is 3, and then root 7. Okay, great. So once you've got those down, mark them, and I've got some practice questions for you to do. Okay, press pause and have a go. Right, we're going to mark these then. So the first one is root 25 times 2, which is root 25 times root 2, which is 5 root 2. Next question, you've got root 25 times 3, which is root 25 times the root 3, which is 5 root 3. Next question, we've got root 4 times root 6, which becomes 2 root 6. Next question, we have 100 times 2, so we get root 100 times root 2, which is 10 root 2. 160 can be made from 16 times 10, which becomes root 16 times root 10, which is 4 root 10. And the last one there, be careful, sometimes you have to think a little bit harder than others, they don't come as natural. This one can be written as 16 times 3, which becomes root 16 times root 3, which is 4 root 3. Okay, so that is simplifying surds. It's going to come back, so make sure you understand it. If you're unsure, press pause, go back, watch it again, have another go. Okay, it's very important you understand this skill because it does come back again and again. So moving on now to multiplying surds. So a key point here is that to multiply surds, you combine them into a single surd. This is actually quite a simple skill. Okay, so here's my worked example. So if I want to do root 2 times root 3, I simply combine them under one root sign, so this becomes root 2 times 3, which is root 6. That is it. Okay, so here's one for you to do. Root 7 times root 3, press the pause, have a go, and come back and mark it. Okay, so root 7 times root 3 becomes root 7 times 3, which is root 21. Lovely. Right, here you go. Here's 4 questions for you to practice. Press pause, have a go, and then we'll come back and go through them. Right, hope you enjoyed doing them. Let's have a quick go through these. It's all about knowing your times tables. This becomes root 15. Root 28, 11 5s 55, 3 times 4 times 2 is 24, root 24. Okay, moving on. And next thing we're going to do is we're still looking at multiplying surds. However, things have changed slightly. So here, our first worked example, we've got root 3 times root 3. So this is a new little skill. So when you multiply, get these little notes down. When you multiply a surd by itself, you get the integer value. So the word integer means a whole number. So when I do root 3 times root 3, I get 3. And the whole reason behind that is we multiply under one surd, which becomes root 9, and root 9 is 3. So you can either write it out the long way, but the more of these you do, and you'll find these shortcuts. So when you multiply a surd by itself, you get the integer value. Okay, my second example here then, I have integers in front of the roots. This means 5 lots of root 2 times by 3 lots of root 5. All we do is break it up. We do our integers, 5 times 3, and then we're going to do our surds, root 2 times root 5, and then we're just going to pop them back together. So 5 times 3 is 15, root 2 times root 5 is root 10, so when I put them back together I get 15 root 10. Lovely. So a little tip on that is multiply numbers or integers and then multiply the surds. Okay, and our third example here looks similar, but this time it says simplify as far as possible. Okay, simplify as far as possible. So let's start off and see what happens. So I break it down, I do my integers first, 7 times 3, then I'm going to do root 6 times root 2. So I get 21 and root 12, and I pop them back together. Now when it says simplify, that leads back to what we just did. So we're really looking at this 12 here. So how could we make 12 with one of the numbers being a square number? Okay, so this becomes root 4 times root 3. So 4 times 3 is 12. Root 4 times root 3 becomes 2 root 3. But don't forget that you've got this 21 here at the beginning. So actually we've got 21 times 2 root 3, which becomes 42 root 3. So you start off as normal, and then once you've got your surd here, you check whether you can simplify it or not, like we did. So root 12 here just become 2 root 3, 21 lots of that becomes 42 root 3. Okay, so I've got 3 examples for you to do. On your turn, have a go, press pause, and then we'll go through the answers. Okay, so this one was set out in a slightly different form, but when we square something, it just means that you're timesing it by itself. So root 4 times root 4 is 4. Okay, second one here, I should say times, I'm jumping ahead of myself. So you get 3 times 5, and you're going to do root 2 times root 5, which is 15 root 10. So I get 15 root 10. Simplify as far as possible, so you start with the same, you do 2 times 4, root 6 times root 2, so I get 8 and root 12, so 8 root 12. Now we're simplifying as far as possible. Okay, so root 12 becomes root 4 times root 3, which becomes 2 root 3. Don't forget about your 8 here, so 8 lots of 2 root 3 is 16 root 3. Okay, take that in, have a little look, and then I have got 6 practice questions for you. Press pause, have a go, and then we'll go through them. Okay, hope you didn't find those too difficult. So the first one, I'm going to do 2 times 3 is 6. Root 3 times root 7 is 21. Now always remember there's an invisible 1 here. 6 times 1 is 6. Root 3 times root 3 is 3. So this actually becomes 6 times 3, which is 18. Okay, next question. I'm going to do 7 times 3 and then root 6 times root 2. 7 3s are 21. Root 6 times root 2 is root 12. So I'm going to do 21 root 12. Now root 12, when you simplify it, you've probably got a little bit more room than me, becomes 2 root 3. So 21 times 2 root 3 becomes 42 root 3. Okay, be careful with this one. Always write it out. Remember, when you square something, it's the same as timesing it by itself. So 5 times 5 is 25, and root 2 times root 2 is 2. So 25 times 2 is 50. Next one here, I'm doing 3 times 3 times 2. 3 times 3 times 2 is 18. And then I've got root 2 times root 3 times root 3 becomes root 18. We need to simplify this bit of the surd. So this becomes root 9 times root 2, which square root of 9 is 3. So I've got 18 times 3 root 2. And then we simplify that. Now if you're doing 18 threes, not all of you will probably be able to do that in your head. So a little method here is if you half one number and double the other, it's the same multiplication. So instead of doing 18 threes, I'm going to do 9 sixes, which is 54. So 54 root 2. Okay, and the last one here, you're doing 3 root 3 times 3 root 3 times 3 root 3. So you've got 3 times 3 times 3, which is 27. I'm going to do this in 2 stages. I'm going to do root 3 times root 3, which is 3, times it by root 3 again, you get 3 root 3. So when I put these two together, I've got 27 times 3 root 3. 27 times 3 is 81, so 81 root 3. Okay, so take that in. If you're not sure, rewind it, have a little look, have a go again. Okay, we're moving on now to dividing surds. Now these follow pretty much the same rules as timesing, but instead of timesing them, you're going to divide them. So here's my worked example. I put them under one surd again. 18 divided by 3 is 6, so I get root 6. Okay, here's one for you to do. Have a go, come back and mark it. Okay, so 28 divided by 2 is 14, so I get root 14. Nice and easy. There are 4 questions there for you to practice. Have a go, press pause, come back to mark them. Okay, hope you found those nice and easy. Let's mark them then. 40 divided by 8 is 5, so we get root 5, root 2, root 3, and just remember division can be written as a fraction as well. Be prepared for either. There we go, so that is the basics of dividing surds. We're going to move on to the next part here. So, there you go, you've got mixed questions here. I want you to have a go, simplifying as far as possible. Press pause and then come back and we will mark them. Okay, hope you found those okay. So here are your answers. grab a red pen and mark your work for me. Okay, hope you all got 10 out of 10. If you're unsure on anything there, go back, watch the videos, or ask your teacher or ask me, and I'll help you with that. It's important that you understand these key skills before we move on. So now it's your job to complete the exit ticket, take a photo of it and send it to your teacher to mark.